Alright, so I don't have a ton of time before it's story time, but I'm actually super stoked. Someone finally commented asking for a woodworking video, since those are the videos that have done the worst on my channel in my channel's entire existence for the past 6 years. So, today we are making a skateboard lamp, and a lot of people do a lot of things with skateboards that I think come out really, really cool, and most of the time they're using resin. So I have used resin before. I've casted things. My wife usually is the one who does it, but I have done it. And resin is super expensive. And the whole point of me making a lamp out of my skateboards is to use up material I already have. So I bought a bottle lamp kit for $10, and we'll get to that later. I grabbed some parts from work to make it work, and I'll show you guys all that stuff when we get to the assembly of the lamp itself. And then I want to use the products that I already have, so buying $60 in resin does not make much sense to me. So I'm going to do it in a different way, and it may not be the most beautiful or the most perfect, but we'll see how it comes out. Please bear with my workbench since they've been staying with us and I've been reading bedtime stories. I kind of get like 45 minutes a night to work, so this has to be cleaned up probably Saturday for me. But this stopped working, and that like ruins the ability to clean down here, and I really haven't had time to look at the motor yet. But back over here, this is a hole saw. You can pick these up at Walmart or any hardware store out there, and I have a bunch of these little hole saw bits. But the way hole saws work is if you go in all the way through a piece of wood, you actually end up with like a puck. So this puck is the idea behind the lamp, to have a cylinder stack going upwards. Now these use a pilot bit, which is about 1/8 of an inch. I got it floating around somewhere here, right here. And this is what punctures through the wood. So how do you make a hole big like that? Well, then I go to a spade bit, and this is one I actually shaved down to look like that. So the originals look like that. So I punch the hole to 3/4 of an inch, which allows me to fit over the conduit shaft that I bought. Now, after making a bunch of these and stacking them up, as you can see, I've been cutting things out of skateboards. Well, then we should have a very nice colorway going up. So let's cut some pucks out. So the downside to using this method is that not all the holes will line up perfectly center, which sucks. It's just because anytime you're using something that punches out holes, it's going to use a pilot bit. And in this case, my spade bits are the closest match to my hole saw bit's pilot bit. Any of my other stuff, the pilots are a lot smaller. But once you do this enough, then you'll end up with a stack. Now I've already glued up my stacks, which look like this. So I decided to glue them up in 2 different sections because it was just a lot easier to handle, and now I can glue the 2 together. So this one has already been rough sanded, so for the most part it's fairly even, and I've been using my belt sander. But if you look at this one, you can tell there's a lot going on here. It's very crooked. So I'm going to rough sand this one, and then I'm going to probably put the 2 together, glue that up, and then rough sand that. But I got hailed for story time, so I gotta go take care of that first. Now, since I've already done this first, I'm going to show you guys really quick on how I glued them up. So I took 2 clamps. Now, they can be any clamps that you're choosing. I like these ones because you can tighten them down by hand. I took a piece of conduit, and this is 1/2 inch conduit, which is inside diameter, which means the outside's about 3/4 of an inch, and that's why we punch a 3/4 inch hole. And underneath is my pucks, and all I did was do a layer of glue between each one, and then put a clamp on each side and clamp it down with even force the best I could. And these seem to have held up pretty well, because this one has already gone through its sanding and it hasn't broken apart, which is good. So that's all I did. This stuff is about $5 per 10 foot. So actually over on this side of my workshop is the rest of it. And I've already used some for that ledge at work. So I don't know what to do with the rest of it, but $5 for 10 feet, how can you beat it? Now there's a million different ways you can sand this, and in the end I'll also be sanding it by hand, but I'm actually using the roller on this belt sander just to roll it like this while this is moving to give myself a nice smooth finish, and it allows me to see what gaps are left. Okay, so I had to switch to bigger clamps, which these are a little absurd for this, but it works. And all I did was apply pressure down on my full stack, which is good. And my wife went to bed early last night, which gave me time to play. So what I did was I took a piece of old barn wood. So this, I believe, is white oak that had been painted. I sanded down the edges until I got most of that off. I then cut it into a square, which in the final measurement I believe was 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. I originally did 6, but one of the edges had a crack. I then took it over to my table saw over here, and I ran it through at a 45-degree angle and cut in these little chamfers. Then I threw some filler in, and I ended up throwing some wood glue in because, as you can see, there are some cracks running down them, and I need this thing to be nice and strong. So that's probably going to be my base for my lamp. So the next thing I need to accomplish is, I actually have this lying around from my father's coffin I made, but I need to punch the same hole in here, but only halfway through this piece, and this is going to be the top piece, and then I need to put in 2 screws down through the top here. But besides that, it's looking pretty good. Alright, so I'm editing this video, and I hope this does not become a trend with my phone, but actually while editing, one of my clips legitimately deleted itself. Like, I imported it, I got near towards the end of the edit, and a message popped up on my editing software, and it said one of more of your clips have been deleted. And I went and I looked, and it's out of my phone. It's gone. More or less, though, the only things I talked about was I hand sanded it up to 220 grit, and I did that by taking a sheet of sandpaper, wrapping it around the shaft, and just turning it like a pepper grinder. I brought it up to 220, then I clear coated it. So you guys will see that in a minute, what it looked like right when I finished clear coating it. And then I glued in that conduit shaft with a 2-part epoxy. I did that just in case if the rings were ever to split open, it would still be held together in one solid piece. And that's pretty much all you guys are missing. I also left the conduit stick down a little bit so I could align it into the base very easily. So back to the video. Alright guys, so this is going to be the last clip before the lamp is completely done. What I did was I put a little bit of super glue on this just to hold it in, and that's why I wanted that little bit of ring sticking down so I could align this perfectly. Obviously you can see the bottom needs to be wiped down. I am going to apologize about the noise going on over in the corner. I bought my wife a rock tumbler to use with the little girl, and something I didn't know is that the noise is going to be going on for a month, because apparently you got to tumble the rocks for a month. But pretty much now I need to drill the holes, put the screws in, and then I can run my wires through, my top cap can go on, and next time you guys see this, the lamp should be done, and then I'm going to do an overview of everything I did. Alright, to finish out this video, I'm going to do a brief overview of everything that I did. So I started with a 1 5/8" hole saw. I punched out 20 pieces of a skateboard. I then glued them all together, and I centered them with a 1/2 inch inside diameter, 3/4 inch outside diameter conduit. Then I took a piece of barn wood, cut 45-degree angle around the whole thing, made it perfectly square, got, you know, the nice chamfers I just said on there, painted it black because it had too many defects in it to just be normal wood. Then I made a top plate that is the same exact diameter as the whole stack of wood with a brake line union glued inside, and then the lamp kit installed throughout it. Then I put some foam on the bottom of this just so it doesn't slide around a bunch, and I threw a shade on it. If you guys have any questions for me, if you guys have any, like, you want to do this but you don't have a specific tool, drop a comment. We'll have a conversation. I'll see if I can help you guys out here. But I'm really stoked about this. I did throw on one last layer of clear coat because there was a little bit of damage I had to fix from getting the lamp kit in. But it's all done. I'm super stoked that this is done. I now have to really scrub my basement and start working on other projects. Thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you guys really did like this video, drop a comment below. And as always, have a great day. For the bonus clip, check out the lantern I made for my front porch.